Have you ever noticed how some people walk into your life like sunlight, and then somehow the room grows confusingly dim? At first there's laughter, ease, a sense that you finally met someone who gets you. Then comes the quiet that cuts sharper than words, the questions that echo after the door closes. Why did they appear? What was I meant to learn? If you're hearing this, it's not an accident. This message has a reason for finding you today. I'm inviting you to listen differently, beneath the noise, beneath the instinct to analyze or defend, and to make space for the kind of stillness that lets truth rise to the surface. Not everyone who enters is meant to stay. Not every goodbye is a failure. Sometimes life sends a person not to complete you, but to calibrate you. Your clarity is forming in the silence. Your path begins to show when you stop forcing answers and simply notice what remains when the chatter fades. Your breath, your center, your worth. So pause with me. Place a hand over your heart. Ask, what is this moment trying to reveal? If you can sit with that question honestly, you've already stepped onto steadier ground. Why connections are placed, not random. Here's a hard kindness. Purpose doesn't always wear a smile. Some people arrive carrying warmth, comfort, and the reminder that goodness still lives in the world. Others arrive like weather, unpredictable, inconvenient, impossible to command. But both carry meaning. Life is not arranging scenes to entertain you, it is shaping you. If someone's presence shook your routines, tugged at your beliefs, or exposed a tender corner of your soul, it doesn't mean you were wrong to open up. It may mean you were ready to wake up. The heart grows not only by being held, but also by being challenged. We want growth to feel like a soft dawn. Often it begins like thunder. When you meet someone who stirs the depths, who disrupts your patterns or presses on a truth you'd rather keep buried, try asking a different question. What is being awakened in me? When you can honor the arrival without demanding permanence, you become free to receive the lesson without clinging to the teacher. Warmth has its purpose. So does friction. Both, in their own ways, are invitations to become the person your future will require. Disruption as the doorway to depth. We like to tell ourselves that transformation happens after the promotion, the apology, the perfect timing. More often, it begins on the day your plans fall apart. Someone touches your pride, and you realize how fragile it was. Someone brushes an old wound, and you learn it never fully healed. These moments are not punishments, they are foundations being poured. The next chapter of your life needs sturdier footings than compliments can provide. So the ground is shaken, gently, then firmly, until the hidden cracks make themselves known. Ask yourself, where do I overreact? Where do I chase approval? Where do I confuse silence with abandonment? These are not character indictments, they are compass points. Discomfort is information. It tells you where strength wants to grow and where freedom has been waiting to be claimed. If you can resist the urge to run, if you can breathe inside the ache long enough to name what it's teaching, disruption becomes sacred. It stops being the villain of your story and starts being the path to a truer self. One that won't crumble when the wind changes, one that can carry real weight without complaint. Mirrors, mending, and the blessing of a broken heart. The people who made you cry may also have made you clear. Their role wasn't to defeat you. It was to reflect the places still asking for tenderness. Your need to control outcomes, your reluctance to release old narratives, your fear of being misunderstood. Sometimes the most merciful thing life can do is let a heart break just enough to be rebuilt stronger, truer, more honest. Healing doesn't erase what happened. It untangles what you attach to it. Notice where you keep reaching back, to rewrite the ending, to earn an apology, to rearrange who you were. Then notice how heavy that reaching has become. What if you honored the fracture as a threshold? What if you said, "This pain is not my identity. It's a doorway to my wholeness"? Mending begins when you stop negotiating with the past and start nurturing the self that is here, breathing, ready. Feed it with honest rest. Protect it with clearer boundaries. Bless it with the company of people who don't demand you prove your value. A heart rebuilt in truth doesn't harden. It softens without breaking, and it loves without losing itself. Forgiveness as fierce freedom. Forgiveness is not a reward for good behavior. It is a refusal to be ruled by what wounded you. It doesn't excuse the harm or invite repetition. It simply returns your future to your own hands. Anyone can preach peace while the room is quiet. The deepest faith is choosing to release someone who never apologized, to stop rehearsing their offense like a script, to step out of the courtroom in your head and walk into your life. Ask, what has resentment cost me? Sleep, joy, presence. The bill is always bigger than the satisfaction. Forgiveness is not forgetting. It's remembering differently without the chain. It is an act of self-leadership. I won't let your choices steer my tomorrow. The path set before you cannot carry the weight of someone else's mistakes. Lay it down, not because they deserve it, but because your calling does. You'll know you're moving in freedom when their name no longer controls your breath, when your story no longer pauses at their chapter, when you can bless your own future without needing theirs to be smaller. Reclaiming power from bitterness. Bitterness is a quiet thief. It doesn't shout, it settles. It settles into your tone, your expectations, your thresholds for joy. It whispers that guarded is safer than grateful, that cynicism is wisdom, that small is smart. Don't buy it. Tell your pain the truth. You don't get to drive anymore. Courage isn't the absence of hurt. It's the choice to keep your heart open while you heal. When you forgive, you're not letting anyone off the hook. You're cutting the line that kept you tethered to a moment that cannot be changed. And something happens when you do. The inner static begins to clear and guidance gets louder. The opposition you felt, the invisible resistance to your progress, starts losing ground. You begin to move with a clean energy, not the adrenaline of anger, but the steadiness of purpose. If you need a practice, try this. Each time the memory returns, take one slow breath and bless your next step out loud. Not them, your step. Over time, the blessing grows muscles. Your future stops shrinking to fit your past. Your life begins to feel like yours again. The discipline of patient strength. After forgiveness comes a quieter challenge, waiting well. Not the idle kind that numbs you with scrolling, but the living kind that expands your spirit. People may arrive with a rush and leave with no explanation. Doors that seem certain may pause on their hinges. In the stillness, you'll be tempted to label the delay a denial. Don't. Waiting is often protection, timing rearranging itself so you don't outgrow your foundation. The question is not, how fast can you move on, but how deeply can you root while nothing moves? Use the pause to refine your rhythms, mornings that begin with breath instead of panic, boundaries that keep you available to what matters, practices that remind you who you are when applause is absent. Trust becomes real here, not the kind you post about, but the kind you practice when answers are slow and silence is loud. Ask yourself, what do I cling to when outcomes stall, fear, control, old stories? Loosen that grip. Trust is not passive, it is active surrender. And when the next step appears, you'll meet it with strength, not desperation, with a calm that says, I am ready because I stayed. The meaning of silence and delay. There are moments when life goes quiet, so quiet you start to wonder if heaven has forgotten your name. The prayers you whispered seem unanswered. The waiting stretches longer than reason can defend. Doubt begins to whisper, maybe nothing's coming. Maybe you were never meant to receive. But that voice is not truth, it's just noise. Every delay carries protection inside it. Some doors close not because you're being denied, but because the timing would have crushed what's still taking root in you. The person who left, the plan that paused, the dream that slowed, they might not belong to the next chapter of your story. Trust that stillness is not absence, it's preparation. Real faith isn't loud, it's steady. It doesn't need proof, it breathes through surrender. When you can remain peaceful while not knowing, you show the universe that your trust isn't built on outcomes, but on alignment. So, in the quiet, don't rush to fill the space. Sit in it, because silence often hides the sound of divine rearranging, becoming the lesson for someone else. We spend so much of life asking, why did this happen to me? But what if some moments weren't meant as a test of your faith, but as a training ground for your calling? You've been refined, not punished, made into a mirror through which others might see themselves more clearly. The pain you endured wasn't wasted. It exposed what still lived inside you, your patience, your humility, your unhealed corners. And now, that same light of awareness you gain will challenge others just by your presence. You become the test. You become the invitation. People will meet you and feel something stir, just as you once did in the presence of your own teachers. It's a sacred exchange. So if you've wondered why your empathy feels heavier now, it's because your spirit has matured enough to carry the weight of wisdom. You were never meant only to pass tests. You were meant to become one, reminding others that growth often wears the disguise of discomfort, the inner upgrade for a higher mission. The next level of your life won't arrive through achievement. It will unfold through character. The version of you being called forward doesn't react sharply when criticized, doesn't crumble in silence, doesn't chase validation from unsteady people. This new level demands composure, humility, and surrender. Every leader, healer, or creator must walk through hidden refinement, moments where pride softens, where you learn not to prove, but to serve. The temptation to defend yourself fades when you realize no one's misunderstanding can block what's meant for you. Vengeance becomes irrelevant when peace becomes your proof. Remember this, what looks like delay is training for influence. You can't carry great purpose with fragile ego. The more you surrender control, the more authority you're quietly gaining. True power doesn't shout, it stands calm in storms. And when your heart learns that stillness, you'll see how your purpose isn't about elevation above others, but transformation from within. The hidden stage of proof. Before influence comes inspection. Everyone wants visibility, but few are ready for the weight it brings. The waiting, the loneliness, the silence, these aren't punishments, they're proving grounds. The unseen realm watches not how you shine in public, but how you stand when no one's clapping. Can you stay kind when overlooked? Can you hold integrity when no reward seems near? A gift without inner grounding becomes chaos. Anointing without purity becomes harm. So, the quiet seasons test what truly shapes you. They strip away applause so you can hear your own motives more clearly. Remember, what influences you will eventually flow through you. If impatience or ego still steer your choices, life will lovingly slow you down until humility catches up. This is the grace of the hidden season. It strengthens your roots before the fruit appears. Don't despise the obscurity. It's not exile. It's preparation for a stage your heart won't sabotage when it arrives. Signs of awakening and the nearing season. Lately, maybe you felt a stirring you can't explain. Dreams more vivid than usual. Emotions shifting between joy and heaviness. A strange pull towards solitude, an ache for quiet. These are not coincidences. They are indicators of awakening. When the spirit begins to stretch, the body and mind react. The tiredness, the restlessness, the sudden clarity, they're signs that your old rhythm no longer fits the melody of your purpose. Don't dismiss these changes as random moods. They are the whispers of alignment calling you forward. Once awareness opens, you can't unsee. You can't go back to sleep in the same way. The invisible line has been crossed. You are being prepared. This awakening doesn't come to frighten, but to focus you. It reminds you that something sacred is approaching, something that requires your full attention. Breathe through the shifts. Listen inward. What feels uncertain now is only the echo of a door unlocking within you. The sacred response. Awareness alone is not enough. Response is the bridge. When you sense the divine invitation, you have two choices: observe it or engage it. Many watch for signs but never answer them. They analyze, postpone, second guess. But life accelerates when you simply say yes. That one word, yes, signals trust. It tells heaven, I'm ready for what I don't yet understand. This surrender doesn't mean losing control. It means aligning with a current stronger than fear. When you respond, circumstances begin to rearrange around your willingness. Doors open that logic can't explain. What once felt delayed suddenly moves with divine precision. Don't underestimate that moment of consent. It's sacred. Every purpose begins not with clarity, but with courage. So if you've been waiting for proof, this is it. The stirring itself is your confirmation. Say yes. Lean in. The mission waiting on the other side of that choice has already been written with your name. The call and the activation. Being called doesn't mean being superior. It means being surrendered. The world doesn't need more loud voices. It needs more clear hearts. When the call arrives, it often comes wrapped in loneliness. You'll be misunderstood, maybe even doubted. But in that solitude, something pure is born: freedom. Freedom from needing approval, from living on applause, from shaping your worth around who notices. The calling asks you to stand when others sit comfortably, to hold light in places that have forgotten it. It's not glamorous, but it's glorious. Every great awakening begins with a single person who refused to shrink back. So when your spirit starts burning differently, don't dim it to keep company with the comfortable. You are not chosen to impress, you are chosen to impact. And yes, it will cost you, but it will also set you free. Answer the call not with pride, but with peace. Because purpose, once awakened, doesn't need permission. It only needs obedience, transformation, and a new name for your life. What if your hardest chapters were not detours, but design? The nights you thought broke, you were forging the language your future will speak. Pain didn't arrive to brand you, it arrived to prepare you. Notice what has shifted. You no longer rush to fill silence, you listen. You no longer barter for approval. You belong to your purpose. From here on, you live differently, led by a steady inner compass, not by the weather of other people's moods. Intuition isn't a hunch. It's the wisdom your scars now carry. And you are not waking alone. Across kitchens and cubicles, hospital rooms and highways, others are stirring too. Ordinary lives aligning with an extraordinary pattern. You'll feel the convergence in small ways. A sentence lands at the right moment. A door opens that logic can't justify. A piece arrives before the plan. Call it providence. Call it orchestration. The name doesn't matter. The change does. Your identity is being reissued. Less fragile, more faithful. The old labels, too much, too late, not enough, no longer fit. Today you try on a truer name. Whole, ready, trusted. Wear it quietly. Let your actions teach it to the room before your mouth ever needs to. The decision that rewrites the road. Breakthrough rarely looks like fireworks. It looks like a simple, private yes. Yes to releasing what you can't control. Yes, to stepping forward without guarantees. Yes, to letting timing be wiser than your timeline. The moment you choose, clarity begins to gather. People appear who speak the language of your next season. Opportunities you used to chase start walking toward you. Relationships deepen because your boundaries do. Gifts you downplayed finally meet their assignment. Will it be easy? No. Worthy things rarely are. But difficulty isn't a stop sign, it's a strength trainer. When fear asks for specifics you can't supply, answer with specifics you can. Your values, your dailies, your non-negotiables. Decide what you will refuse: bitterness, self-betrayal, hurry without direction. Decide what you will welcome: truth, steady courage, imperfect but honest action. And remember, saying yes to purpose is also saying no to what once kept you safe but small. That grief is real. Honor it, don't obey it. Then take next right step. One phone call, one calendar block, one prayed through risk. Destiny doesn't demand a leap every day. It asks for practice consent, repeated until the path becomes a place you now belong. Practices that align you with what you ask for. Alignment is not magic, it's maintenance. Begin with inner quiet. 5 minutes is enough if it's honest. Sit, breathe, and let your thoughts pass like trains you choose not to board. When the body settles, the truth surfaces. Write what you hear without editing. Fears, desires, inconvenient clarity. Journaling is not for literature, it's for locating yourself. Then go touch real ground, grass, sand, a patch of sun on the porch. Let the body remember what the soul knows. Life moves without your micromanaging. Next, set aims that are specific enough to practice. Release the need to please in today's meeting. Make the call I keep avoiding. Rest before I'm exhausted. Speak them aloud. Your nervous system listens to your voice. Create a dedicated corner, a candle, a chair, a cleared table, where your spirit recognizes this is where we align. Keep it simple and sacred. Finally, audit your inputs. What you watch, read, and rehearse all shape your inner climate. Choose content that strengthens the muscles you're building: patience, courage, clean honesty. Alignment isn't about becoming someone else. It's about gathering the scattered pieces of you into one steady yes. When alignment changes the outside world, something practical happens. When your inside agrees with your assignment, reality begins to cooperate. You meet the right mentor in a hallway you didn't plan to walk down. A project you almost declined becomes the doorway you'd been praying for. You sense guidance not as drama but as a quiet of course. This is not wish thinking, it's coherence. People trust those who are congruent. Their words, tone, and choices rhyme. Opportunities find them because uncertainty no longer leaks from their eyes. Your task is not to collect more, it is to remember more: who you are when you're not performing, what matters when applause is absent. From that remembrance, action becomes precise. You stop scattering effort across every open tab of life. You do less, and it works more. Expect resistance, especially from the parts of you addicted to over-explaining. Smile at it. Let results speak in their time. The fruit of alignment is recognizable: calm energy, targeted yes, clean nos, and progress that feels like relief more than strain. When the improbable arrives, don't apologize. Say thank you, steward it well, and keep your soul quieter than your schedule. Owning the new self you paid for. There comes a day when the old self stops negotiating. Today can be that day. You don't need every step mapped to start walking. You don't need everyone's blessing to bless your own life. Fear will call this recklessness. Wisdom calls it adulthood. The new you isn't louder, it's clearer. You spend less time proving and more time building. Less time rehashing, more time reaching. You forgive faster because you finally understand the cost of carrying what you cannot change. When anxiety asks for a forecast, offer presence instead. I am here. I am guided. I will meet what comes with who I am becoming. Notice how your body responds, shoulders lowering, breath lengthening, mind softening. That is ownership. And once you choose it, direction appears like footprints in wet sand. Faint till you stand in them, obvious once you do. Don't martyr your momentum to the comfort of certainty. Take the step. Let the next step meet you. You can't go back to sleep inside a life you've already outgrown. The door behind you isn't locked, but the room no longer fits. Walk on with kindness, with courage, with the quiet confidence of someone who finally trusts their stride. When purpose and identity start saying the same thing. Integration is when your outer work and inner truth stop arguing. You no longer dim your values to fit a room. You bring your light and let the room adjust. Purpose is not a title. It's the way you treat people when no one's filming. It's the hard conversation you have without cruelty, the boundary you hold without drama, the apology you make without self-indictment. You were not made to blend into the background of your own life. You were made to carry light into places that forgot they could be warm. Expect some friction. Change always brushes the grain. But remember, sandpaper smooths by resisting. Your past, with all its knots and splinters, now serves the build. The failures gave you empathy. The winds taught you stewardship. The waiting trained your wind resistance. Together they deliver you to a clear sentence. The time is now. Not because you earned it perfectly, but because you're aligned enough to hold it. So take your place at the meeting table, the kitchen counter, the bedside, the workshop, wherever your life touches other lives. Let your presence say what your posts never could. There is a steadier way to be human, and you are practicing it here. The benediction and the invitation. You have crossed an invisible threshold. You're not who you were when this message found you. You're more awake, more anchored, more available to the work only you can carry. Do not let fear rename you. Do not let history narrate you. Let peace be your punctuation. From here, keep listening. Return to the words that stirred you. Share them with those whose eyes carry the same ache. Not as a performance, as a practice. Someone near you is waiting for language you now possess. Offer it. And when the old winds rise, when doubt taps the glass, place a hand on your heart and remember, you are not walking alone. Guidance is not a rumor, it is present. Protection is not a slogan, it is active. Everything needed for the next stretch is already seated within you, ready to break open under the pressure of your yes. So here is your charge. Move forward gently and decisively. Guard your joy. Keep your boundaries. Tell the truth. Grow what's been given. And when the moment asks for courage, let your life answer in full. Peace to your next step. Strength to your spine. Light to your path.